regarding the issue 17 ballot initiative for the repeal and replacement of the Pepper Pike City Charter. I'm glad that you could all be here tonight. I don't know, just looking at how many were unable to visit last time. If you're new to this meeting, welcome. And it's good to have you here tonight. This is a information comment event, just so that, I don't know if it'll lengthen or shorten your comments, but just be aware your comments are welcome. Your questions are welcome. What we do here tonight will not change what's on the ballot. I hope you all have seen the ballot, that you'll study the ballot language, and that you'll proceed from there. Because it's on the ballot, the council and myself are not entitled to advocate one way or the other for this initiative tonight. So you'll be patient with us and not be asking us, well, what do you think about it? Do you want it to pass or not? We're not entitled to get into that with you. So anyway, the way that this has been working, and last time was pretty successful, we'll be here for 2 hours, up to 2 hours, so long as your questions and comments last. And there's a microphone and podium there that we'd ask you to just take turns stepping up to, make your comment or ask your question, and we'll do our best to respond to you. Okay? Thank you very much again for being here, and we'll say goodnight at the end. Thanks.
Welcome to the second town hall meeting to inform Pepper Pike residents about the upcoming ballot issue number 17 on May 6, 2025, regarding revisions to the Pepper Pike Charter. Please look at the handout package you should have received when you arrived. It contains an executive summary of the Commission's recommendations, a listing of the recommended changes on 2 pages, and the full Commission report. The full Commission report is important because it gives you some of the reasoning, it gives you all of the reasoning why the changes that they're suggesting were suggested. If you haven't already done so, please sign the sign-in sheet. There should be one at every table. As a reminder, good governance requires that any organization periodically reviews the rules by which it operates. This is the reason that the Charter Review Commission was established. In this meeting, your elected officials hope that you will be able to make comments about the proposed revisions to the Charter and ask questions about those proposed changes. The Mayor and Council at its last meeting decided that the maximum number of residents to be heard on both sides of the issue, we should limit the length of each resident's comments to 5 minutes. If you have already spoken, please wait until all who wish to speak have had a chance to make their views known or ask their questions. The comments will be timed, and we will give you a heads up when you have spoken for 4 minutes. And with that, let's hear from our residents.
Regarding the sign-in sheets, there's not an obligation, there's no legal obligation for you to have to sign in. We appreciate your signing in, so just we'll have a record of who was here this evening. To assuage any concerns, these sign-in sheets are, for the city. They're not going to be distributed out to any of the PACs or advocates for the initiative one way or the other. All right, it's simply for a city record, and we'll leave it there. All right, so it's up to you, but we'll have, where did I see Carl? Chief Dietz is there in the corner. Welcome, Chief. Maybe about halfway through, he can just circulate and pick up any sign-in sheets for anyone who's filled it out. Okay? Will you do that for us, Chief? Thank you.
Ready? Would you introduce yourself and your address?
Hello, my name is Tom Bonda. I'm a 32-year resident of Creekside Drive, 32325, if you really care. My wife Jody and myself have enjoyed living here and truly believe that at this time, Pepper Pike is probably better than it's ever been. We raised 3 children here, all went to this wonderful school system. All are doing very well now, unfortunately not living in Cleveland. We have considered downsizing recently, so we asked a realtor to come over and appraise our house and give us some idea of what's going on, property values. We were shocked at when she said the price. I've tracked my house value, and all of a sudden it's just going up like mad. But then she said something even more important. She said, I love selling houses in Pepper Pike, because this place is so good. People love to move here. Houses don't stay in the market very long, and they sell at or above the asking price. You know, she said the services are wonderful, the neighborhoods are wonderful, the schools are wonderful. I'm prejudiced about that, of course. I don't care who has what power between the mayor and council. I'm not here supporting the mayor. I'm not here supporting the council. I really am here supporting the residents of Pepper Pike, that we can keep what we have right now and continue to enjoy this wonderful living we have. Now is not the time to make radical changes in the way Pepper Pike is run. There may be some need for certain minor changes in the charter. I understand councilman versus councilperson, village versus city. No brainer. Some people saying that those of us opposed to the charter repeal are just afraid of change. I can assure you I'm not afraid of change. In fact, I taught problem solving and change and innovation at John Carroll for over 10 years. And what we taught our students, our businesses we consulted with, and our nonprofits, is that change is a good thing. But first, you must clearly identify what is the problem you are trying to solve, and then analyze at length in a circular motion. Does this solution benefit your customers, in this case, the residents of Pepper Pike? I fail to see the problem that this solution is going to make our lives, our property values, better than they are right now. As I said before, things really are good. As has been said often, nothing really is broken in Pepper Pike. It's working. Everything seems that way. If the mayor and council can't get along, I got an easy solution. Work it out, guys. I was told originally there was a communication problem. You can't legislate communication, but you sure can sit there and throw some red meat at you in a locked room and say, work it out. If you can't work it out, I have a much better solution for all the residents here on both sides of this issue. We can vote you all out and put people in who in fact can work out and work together. Thank you. Please vote no on May 16th.
Good evening. My name is Rich Ferguson. I live at 29200 Edgedale Road. I attended one of the Charter Review Commission meetings. It was the Saturday after Thanksgiving. It was in the morning at City Hall. I went in there, and I was surprised when I saw the agenda, because any public comment was at the beginning of the meeting. And since that was my first meeting, I was going to see what happened. One gentleman there had a comment from a previous meeting. After he gave it, he got up and left. As the meeting went on, there was good discussion, and people were participating from the floor that I learned later were council members and the legal representative. And two of the council members really only responded to questions when asked. One council member seemed to have a lot of pride of authorship. He had submitted a draft of what he thought it should be, and there was very detailed discussions on what went on. At the time, I didn't know these were council people, so when they got talking about the planning committee, I had a question, and so I raised my hand, and the chairman says, no, we're not entertaining any public comment at this time. At the end of the meeting, the chairman and a couple other folks did come over to me, asked me what my questions were, and we were able to get it done. So I was surprised how much influence the council seemed to have on the review committee. And my concern is, right now the council seems to be a council of equals. If we create a council president, no term limits, I think there's a concern there. Thank you.
My name's Brad Thompson. I'll be very brief. I know, and I have not been to any meetings. I have had no involvement in this. I live on Northwood Drive. And I just want to say, I can appreciate how much effort a lot of people have put into this over the past number of months. And I applaud you for devoting that kind of time to this. Unfortunately, I understand there's some contention involved. That's why I came here today. But nevertheless, I want to let you know as a citizen that I appreciate the effort a lot of people have put into this, or for and against or whatever, and making comments and attending meetings. So I want to applaud you all and recognize you all for doing that. That's it.
Hi, my name is Gary Hoffman, and I live on 30060 Bolingbrook Road. My wife Diane and I have been residents here for 33 years, and without question, Pepper Pike is the most pleasant place in which we've ever lived. And for that, I congratulate the mayor, the council, and all those who came before and shared a vision of what the city could become. I've also, in terms of disclosure, served on the charter for the charter committee to look at and revise the current guidelines for governance. And I can only say that in getting to know the individuals that we see here on stage, that we are blessed in Pepper Pike with having a terrific mayor, a wonderful council. And the thing that has struck me more than anything else is how dedicated all parties have been to the preservation of the kind of city that we have now and hope to continue to have in the future. My concerns are that there has been too much disinformation and misinformation that has been part of this process to revise the charter. This is not a replacement charter, as has been said in the past, and much of the signage around the community has shown. This is a revision. And all of the people who have been involved, from the mayor to the council, to the commission, to the law director, have been dedicated to an improved set of governance. And all have done this, I think, in an unselfish, dedicated way for a better city. And for those of you who are influenced by what you've seen on placards, on handouts, and have not read the revised charter, I urge you to look at that document and not vote until you have carefully read it. To do less would be a disservice to all the parties involved. And so I urge you not to vote based upon hearsay or who is or is not your close friend making whatever recommendation, but to vote based upon the facts. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Hoffman, for that. And I'd like to express gratitude to everyone that has come tonight and everybody that has been involved in this entire process. I'm saddened by the fact that it has seemed like it has divided the city when it should actually bring the city together. And the whole purpose of a revision to the charter is to improve our city and our governance. And just to remind you, everybody knows this, it hasn't been looked at since 1966, since the city was.
I thought council was not going to comment.
But anyway, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming tonight, and thank everybody for their efforts in all of this. And thank you, Dr. Hoffman.
Okay, so hi, I'm Alyssa Swords, 3199 Pine Tree Road. And this is my first time speaking at a town hall because the way that this has all went down, I had to do a lot of research myself, and I don't like what I've seen. I want to start with this peculiar yellow mailer that has been handed out. It brought up rotary phones, cars with tail fins, and it's as if being from the 1950s automatically makes something bad. I want to push back that old does not mean bad by that logic. We could start considering to replace our council members solely because they're old. Would we do that? No, because we value experience, continuity, and institutional knowledge. So what matters is if our systems and our leaders are working for the people, and it's just not a numbers game with age. But beyond the nostalgia, the mailer was vague and confusing, and it actually led me to going to the Vote Yes website because I needed to do my own research. It was polished, but if I wanted to read anything of substance, I had to download PDFs, interpret it myself, and it was not an easy process. So strike one on the mailer, strike two on the website. At this point, I decided I'm going to read the proposal myself, so I read it line by line. And it shouldn't have been necessary. It took a lot of time after work, putting my kids down, and to understand this charter took a lot of work, and I get the impression that council is hoping voters are not going to do the level of work that I had to do. And so now, the most recent yes letter, I'm sure many of you have seen it, it dedicates the entire front page to praising the process and listing all of the residents. And I want to commend anybody who's given their time to do a public service like this. But time spent on a proposal doesn't automatically make it right, and we don't vote yes just because people worked hard. That page read as a participation trophy rather than a persuasive case for change. We're not grading on effort, we're deciding whether the proposal actually serves the people of Pepper Pike, and by that measure, I think it falls short. The reason I'm highlighting things like the mailers and the website is this. City Council has pointed to communication issues with the mayor as one of the reasons they want a revised charter and a council president. But maybe the communication problem is not with the mayor. Maybe it is the council itself, because it is apparent they have not been able to deliver a clear, honest message about the charter repeal. It's clear in the Vote Yes team's message that they struggle to put forward a cohesive, compelling argument that gives residents confidence they deserve before casting a vote. This is a direct result of how council is handling the charter repeal as a whole. And if this is how they handle sweeping change, why would we give more authority? They've quietly orchestrated this, rushed it onto a low turnout ballot, and counseled town halls that were promised. This is not transparent government. We are owed clarity, we are owed respect for our time and our intelligence. And I do want to pause here to share a bit about my background. So I am a product manager, and that means I spend my days making decisions about apps and websites, how they work, how people engage with them. And one of the golden rules is that if you want someone to take an action, like signing up or submitting info, you want to reduce FUD. And what that stands for is fear, uncertainty, and doubt, because that is how you legitimately earn trust. And that is what I think has been absent from this entire process. The council and the Vote Yes campaign have not removed FUD, they are the source of it. So I'm going to ask everybody here, is your fear, uncertainty, and doubt gone? Because when I look around and I see how much conflict and confusion this has caused our community, the answer is clear. I think this is engineered confusion and not community building. The vote is not just about the proposed changes, it's about sending a message that residents of Pepper Pike deserve better. If council wants to propose fundamental changes to how our city works, they need to go back to the drawing board and do it openly, honestly, and with genuine respect for the people they claim to serve. If you are on the fence, a no vote tells them to do better, be clear, be honest, and listen. And if communication is really the issue, maybe it is time we get some fresh voices on the council in November, people who are ready to listen, speak, and actually communicate with the residents. Thank you.
Hi, Eric Schmidt.
I was just going to respond to a couple things that were just came up that I thought should be clarified or corrected. One thing that's bothered me a lot in this process is the continuous disparagement of the Charter Review Commission, saying this was some sort of participation and they should get some participation trophy for the 17 meetings, the level of the people who constituted this commission. I believe it was 3 attorneys, a physician, business owners, 3 people who have either currently are or have been on the school board for many years. These are a really impressive group of people who have been really diligent in their efforts of the highest integrity, and to either criticize their intelligence or passing. That's not what I said. Okay, I'm just responding from my point of view. You were just
That's enough.
I don't know who anyone is.
My name is Melanie Weltman. I've lived in this community most of my life. I've lived here currently for 23 years. I also grew up in this community from the time I was 3 years old until I was about 25.
You're in violation of the rules.
I'm not in violation of any rules.
You're advocating.
I'm speaking to the credibility. Are you going to do anything, Mr. Mayor?
No.
All right, then I also would like to talk about the intent of council.
No.
I'm allowed to speak.
No, you're not. You're advocating. You're in violation of the rules.
And furthermore, I'd like to say one other thing. Council was unable to place any information on the website or send out any emails or put anything in the newsletter after multiple efforts of 2 months of trying to do so.
That's enough.
I'm allowed to speak. I don't understand why you're speaking.
This is who wants more power.
I'm speaking facts. These are facts. And council was unable to post anything on the website or send out any emails. There'll be plenty of time. I will not, if you stop speaking.
That's in violation.
Because I'm trying to give you factual information.
I just want to clarify, I never said that you put communications directly out there. I was pointing to the fact that what you are communicating, your own vote yes cannot comprehend and put out a solid message. So that's what I was saying.
Because we are unable to access the website or email, and we also have been at a period of 2 months, and that's factually accurate. That is factually accurate.
Let him speak, please.
Please feel free to speak.
Well, that'll be a tough act to follow. So Eric Schmidt, I'm a resident at 29449 Bolingbrook. I've been in Pepper Pike for about 22 years. I guess my comments aren't so much that I don't like the changes as much as I just don't think it's a complete document, a complete revision. I think it's still a little runny in the middle. I took the liberty to sit down and actually read the charters of some 14 communities in Cuyahoga County that are from half the size of Pepper Pike to twice the size of Pepper Pike. And some of the things that I noted, and I noted other things as well, but almost all have a mayor on the Planning Commission still. Almost all have a separate Board of Zoning Appeals from the Planning Commission. At least half have council members by wards, and at least half do not allow council to remove the mayor. So I bring this up just to say that what I think has been lacking here has been an opportunity for the resident to participate in massaging the final proposal. That I think there's been a lot of good work in it. There's a lot of good changes proposed, but I don't think it's done. And that's why I had to vote no.
Luann Graham, 31437 Shaker Boulevard. As per our current charter, the mayor is the city executive. He sets the agenda and he runs the council meetings, so he's the de facto head of legislative, and by the powers of the charter, he is the head of the judicial. Is this balanced? Keep a Balanced Government is cited by the opponents of the charter review on their webpage. What are their bullet points? Council members appoint one of their own to be council president to preside over meetings as a voting member. What is so unique about council members appointing one of their own to be the presiding member without our input? We all have already voted and elected all of the members of council. How is the legislative branch council electing a council president, setting their own agenda, running their own meeting, encroaching upon the responsibilities of the mayor? There should be a distinct line between the executive and the legislative branch. The mayor continues to have all the responsibilities as the executive. The mayor would be working with council, not reporting to them. The charter revision gives the president of council all the powers, duties, functions, obligations, and rights as any other member of council, including the right to vote, and shall preside at all meetings of council, shall confer with other members of the council and the mayor, and shall appoint the various committees of the council to coordinate their work. No powers will be taken from the mayor, as those duties are written in the charter. Opponents don't emphasize that at the commission's request, the entire section defining the executive powers was written by our city law director. The statement, the mayor works full-time with residents, businesses, etc., to recommend legislation and expenditures to council. I see nothing in the proposed revision which would change this statement. The mayor would continue to do so. The mayor remains in charge of the executive and judicial branches of the city. The mayor remains the CEO. Their statement goes on to say the part-time council is taking on full-time responsibilities, having authority to assume many administrative duties and authority to micromanage and control the departments. With the new charter, the mayor would still work full-time with all the residents, businesses, etc. He would still be able to recommend legislative and expenditures to the council. The mayor remains the city's CEO. On their website, they mention the removal of the mayor from office. They state 3 ways: vote out of office at the ballot box, via recall, petition, or under Ohio law by independent court. Any of these would take months or years to happen. The new charter has a very high threshold of wrongdoing for the removal. The council may remove the mayor from office on the basis of 1 or more grounds for removal as defined in section 3-9. The charges against the mayor shall be initiated by at least 3 council members signing and introducing written charges at a council meeting. Any such removal shall not take place without the completion of a due process procedures, which are clearly defined in section 3-9, and the affirmative votes of at least 6 members of council. The new ordinance allows for the timely removal of a mayor who has met very substantial criteria and to stop continued meaningful harm to the city. These are the same grounds used for the removal of a member of council. Currently, the mayor chairs and appoints all of the resident members of the Planning Commission, of which he is a voting member. With regard to removing the mayor from planning and zoning, our city law director advised the Charter Commission that it is at best practice for planning commissions to
4
eliminate
minutes.
or minimize political control and influence as to have independent decision-making. In the charter revision, the mayor and council would appoint 4 members through the application process. Council representation is maintained as the City Planning Commission interprets ordinances that have been brought before council. There is nothing to prevent current Planning Commission members from applying to the new Planning Commission. Currently, the mayor can unilaterally remove without cause the law director or treasurer. The new charter proposes that council can unilaterally remove without cause the law director and the treasurer with affirmative votes of at least 5 members. The mayor would need council approval to do so. This provides more protection for the law director and the treasurer. It also provides protection to the residents if the mayor attempts retaliation or condones/tolerates misconduct. Currently, the mayor can remove department heads without council approval. With defined grounds
Time.
for removal, vote yes.
Hi, I'm John Currid, 3220 Fox Hollow Drive. When I was here at the first town hall, I had asked a question about why the council didn't take the advice of the commission on the different sections of kind of breaking apart and just doing amendments on the current charter. And the answer was that either that would be too difficult or it would be too piecemealed or it might not make sense. And instead, the decision was made to just get rid of the entire charter, to repeal it, and then to replace it with a new charter. And the ordinance itself says just that. It says it's going to repeal the existing charter, and it did that and declared it a emergency and got rid of the regular order. Here's the problem, though. In your haste of doing all of that, and I'm going to read from a letter that tomorrow I'm going to be submitting to the clerk of council, the law director, the director of the Board of Elections of Cuyahoga County, the Secretary of State, and the Attorney General. According to the Ohio Constitution, Article 18, Section 8, and I'll read, any municipality may frame and adopt or amend a charter for its government and may, subject to the provisions of Section 3 of this article, exercise thereunder all powers of local self-government, the legislative authority of the municipality, by a 2/3 vote of its members, you guys did that, may submit to the electors the question, shall a commission be chosen to frame a charter? The legislative authority shall, upon petition signed by 10% of the electors, submit such questions to the electors. The questions shall be voted on upon the next general election or at a special election ordered by the legislative authority submitting such a question. If the majority of electors voted on such question in the affirmative, a commission shall be chosen forthwith, consisting of 15 electors of the municipality. Such commission shall frame a charter and may prescribe the manner in which any subsequent charter amendments shall be adopted. Oops. You guys forgot a step. Let's go to our current charter. The Pepper Pike Charter Review Commission was established by the Pepper Pike City Council to conduct, this is from your executive review. The Pepper Pike Charter Commission was established by the Pepper Pike City Council to conduct a comprehensive review of the city charter. The goal of the review, as directed by Ordinance 2004-13, passed on April 17, 2024, is to ensure the charter reflects current best practices, transparent and effective government. The commission was sworn in at the organizational meeting July 31st, 2024. Where was the election? Where was the question asked to us, the voters? Missed that part. Oops. You guys thought you were smart, though.
You added the word amendment in the legislation. Although there is this thing called the plain meaning rule. You have to go by the plain meaning of the language. And you kind of put in here that you're repealing our existing charter and you're replacing it, otherwise known as framing, a new charter. You're giving us a new charter. You're relying on Article 18, Section 9. You can't do that because you're actually using Article 18, Section 8. I will give you a copy, if I can approach, of the letter I'll be submitting.
4 minutes.
I also, for anybody here that wants all the documents, I have a QR code that I'll pass out. You guys can you can look up all these documents, which you guys should have done prior to putting us through all this, as you guys put it, divisiveness of the city, and actually done your jobs. Also in there is a folder that has the real basic petition you could have used to just amend the current charter. I put one in there that actually has one for term limits for council, because you didn't happen to put that in the new charter, don't know why. There's also a document in there that allows us to recall council members, if that is something that everybody here wants to do. But all of this information is here. I will be submitting these letters, but hopefully you guys will see your way of just completely putting the city through a terrible era, because right now, anything that happens, if this goes through, we are totally against the Ohio Constitution. Do you mind if I approach and submit this to you? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Lester Potash, and I live at 2095 Botanica. I appear to be one of the newbies here. I've only been here about 18 years, having emigrated from the independent and bohemian Republic of Cleveland Heights. I'm looking at, from what I hear, get out. All right, I will get a little closer. From what I don't have any firsthand knowledge of this other than what I've read, both pro and con. I firmly believe if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. I do have an IBM Selectric and a VCR, both of which are probably the same age as the charter. I do not use my typewriter, and I do not use a VCR for streaming movies. I have gone beyond that. That doesn't mean that the IBM Selectric, which still works, is not good, or that the VCR, which still works, I should throw out. But it doesn't hurt to look at other things as times progress. And from what I see and what I hear, the people on the Charter Commission decided to take a look, not only what was yesterday and today, but what may be for tomorrow. And in doing so, they took a look at other communities and what they do and how they operate. And somehow, from what I read, they tried to adopt the best measures of all of these communities to make it work. Now, some of the things that I've heard here about removing people and all this other, to me, these are fail-safe provisions. Fail-safe provisions are last-ditch efforts for some reason that everything else could not control. They are not the first resort to problem resolution. So if there is some means to remove a person, I have to believe that everything else that was tried to resolve whatever issue exists failed, and there's only one other way to resolve whatever the problem is. And I'm not saying that there is a problem. In fact, from hearing the disagreement, and again, I have no personal knowledge of this, but from hearing the disagreements that may or may not exist between the mayor and council, what married couples don't have disagreements? I mean, you guys are wedded. So you work it out. This is not a power grab. This is not an ego trip. The president of council doesn't have 2 votes. The mayor isn't relegated to the back of the room. All it means is that there's a different protocol for the separation of authority in a city. And I don't know what's wrong with that. Cleveland Heights had a city manager for umpteen years before I was born in Cleveland Heights and after I left to come to Pepper Pike. And then they decided that times were changing and they went to the mayor and city council. How it works, I don't know. But that brings to the next point. Built in this revised, amended, brand new, revoked, whatever you want to call the charter, is a 6-year review. So in 5.5 years, if it seems like something isn't working, then if it's broke, you'll fix it again. I just, I hear a little, all the disagreement, but by the same token, it seems to me that the times, as a recent movie would say, times they are changing. And if they are changing, then we either, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. The city is trying to see what the solution may be. I don't have a problem with the proposals that they have because they seem to be reasoned by people of all walks in the community, of all statuses and occupations and whatever. So I guess what I'm saying is I commend the council, I commend the mayor, I commend the commission, I commend the city, and I believe that the charter should be adopted. The charter changes, by whatever name you call it, should be adopted, and we'll see how it works. And if you don't like it, we'll be back here in 6 years. Thank you.
Hi, Patricia Lipman, 32349 Pine Tree Road in Pepper Pike. And I think what really is now upsetting me the most is how divided the city is and the fact that so many people have lost confidence in our council. It's been such a wonderful place to live. We've lived here since 1996, and things have just improved enormously since we've lived here. I think the other thing now that bothers me after listening to everybody, I agree with what he was saying about what most of the people are saying, and on the no side, unfortunately, that you're not listening. If there's half the city wants you to wait till November, what was the big deal? And you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't consider it, waiting till November and listening to maybe some of the points that people wanted to make, like term limits or not taking certain positions away from the mayor. And you're not doing that. You're just going ahead and doing what you want because that was the road you were on. But if so many people are upset and divided, what was the big deal to just say postpone this and let people write in and say, can you add this? Can you take that out? And look at the consensus of it and then make a decision. Because you want people to come together and you're dividing us. And I think that that's the biggest problem. And we're not Beechwood, and I think a lot of what you want in there is sort of copying what Beechwood has done. If we want to be like Beechwood, let's just join Beechwood and become part of their city. But it's nice to be in a smaller community, and I think that's why everyone loves living here. And I do think that we do need term limits, whether it's you or the next group of people that come in. And they're just little things like that you could tweak, and you're not taking the time to do it because in your head you're like, we're going to do it in May, that's what we wanted to do, that was the plan, and you're just going through with it. So if it's not too late, I don't think it's too late to take it off the ballot and move it till November and just get some more ideas and let people just have some comments and show that you're willing to compromise as well. That's all I have to say.
Hi, my name's Sandip Mody. I'm at 2450 Cedar Lakes. I just wanted to kind of bring my spin on what I've been thinking about the last few days. I think most people, for right or wrong, vote not based on logic, not based on pure facts, but based on feelings and emotion. All right, so I'll give you my example with this situation. 3-4 years ago, I met the mayor at our public parks, our events. He knows my name, he knows my wife's name. Then I reflected on life in Pepper Pike. It's really good, right? So my emotions are telling me this is somewhat a referendum on how our current mayor is doing. And I don't like that feeling. Now, whether that's right or wrong, I'm sure you can all give me your point of view on that. So where am I going with this? I think the question that's out here in general is, how did all of you get to the decision in 2023, 2024 to say we need a council or a charter revision or a charter referendum, right? So what were your stories, what were your feelings that made it so impactful to band together a year and a half, 2 years ago and get this done? Because many of you have been in council for many years. So what transpired? I think you owe us that transparency. You owe us some of those stories so we can make better decisions. And if you can't deliver that level of transparency, then I think that's a problem because you are in a publicly elected position, right? So that's my problem, and that's why I'm voting no. Thank you.
Sandip, did you want an answer to that?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I was the one who promised to promote a charter review in 2023.
Will you tell us who you are?
Tony Gentili, member of council, in 2023. And the reason, as I've said over and over again, is good governance requires you to look at your rules periodically. There was no other reason for bringing this up. It had been 58 years since the charter was reviewed in total, and that was why I brought it up. I don't know if my fellow council members had any other reasons, but that was the main number one reason why this was brought up. And some of the negative side has tried to make it the mayor versus council. That's never been the case. That's never been the case in my mind, and I can't speak for the rest of council, but that is what I think is dividing the community. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elton Riemer. I live at 28099 South Woodland Road, Pepper Pike. I've been in Pepper Pike my wife and I have been in Pepper Pike for 47 years. We love living here. Can't hear you. I love living here. We've been here for 47 years at 28099 South Woodland Road. I've seen so many improvements. Perhaps more improvements are ahead, but if it ain't broke, why fix it? I could understand an amendment, but a complete charter revision doesn't make any sense to me. Council is very active, and I think that's very good. There is a responsibility of the executive branch to monitor, to the legislative branch to monitor the executive branch. I wish they would do that in Washington. Too bad it isn't happening. I've seen this community grow. Let me just hold it. Sorry. I've seen this community grow and prosper. I've seen this community grow and prosper. One day I'm going to learn how to talk. But Mayor Bain has done a wonderful job. When we moved here, there were Mayor Akers, and there was Mayor Parks before him, and I've seen so many improvements that we're now attracting young people, and the ship has been steady. We now have 8 young people living next to us on 3 different houses. We never had that before. If we're going to grow and prosper, we have to bring in and maintain young people. I'm 87, my wife is 87. We may be here for a while, but That's our plan. But I really believe there could be an assimilation of ideas between council and the mayor without making radical changes. And I read 16 pages, mostly red, RED, and it was disturbing to me. It really was. And still is, by the way. There isn't anything I heard here tonight that has changed my mind. I understand where change sometimes is good, but once again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it or change it. Thank you.
Good evening, Jim Taylor, 28150 Fairmount Boulevard. I rise to urge a no vote on this matter before the voters. Jim Taylor, 28150. What's that?
By your mouth. Put the mic by right.
It is. I can't put it any closer. I'll be eating it. Can you hear me now? Yes. Fine, thank you. Jim Taylor, 28150 Fairmount Boulevard, Pepper Pike, 44124. Anyway, I'm a 53-year resident of this community. And I also rise as a 41-year consecutive member of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Pepper Pike. And I rise to urge a no vote, and I'm responding to my good friend and colleague, Dr. Hoffman, who sent a letter to the staff of the Cleveland Clinic, where I am, and urging a yes vote and outline reasons why we should vote in favor, and also was forming a PAC and ask for money. So I'm just going to review the reasons that the comments that I made to him. Number one, and I'm addressing the changes that the Charter Review Commission recommended for the Planning and Zoning Commission. I said that the current system works well with well-qualified individuals, a noted law professor. We have somebody that's a CEO of Prominent Design, or former CEO of a Prominent Design and Build a business. Councilman Weltman, who's an attorney, the mayor, and myself. And I think the mayor is critical to running this meeting. He's the one that knows most about the actions of the city. I said that our monthly meetings are informed by the city planner, the city engineer, and the law director, all of whom have been incredibly knowledgeable. And at no time in my 41 years as the mayor ever attempted to change our view or tell me how to vote. I stand by the decisions that have been made. And I also pointed out that I thought it was not a good idea to remove the mayor from the commission. I was told in response, well, the mayor can attend, but that's different than presiding and being a voting member. And then I said I couldn't recommend approval because of the, I didn't see any reason to fix a problem that doesn't exist. And I think this actually reminds me of the potential process for amending the U.S. Constitution of a constitutional convention, and that's sort of how this evolved. And it would be an absolute disaster if that ever occurred. Article 5 of the Constitution, and I'm suggesting that actually this proposal is sort of like a Pepper Pike Doge, if you will, but a little more regulated and not quite so erratic.
My comments reflect those of a lifelong student of government public policy from the floor of the House of Representatives, where I served for 3 years.
4 minutes.
And employees, and the National Institute of Health, and also served in official capacity in a number of national and local regional medical and organizations. Again, I have great respect for the members of council, for the mayor, for the members of the Charter Review Commission, but I think this is too early, and I urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Hi, Tracy Dickenson, 3244 Fox Hollow Drive. I'm starting out saying I'm a 19-year resident, but you know, that's nothing compared to these guys. So just ignore that part. You know what makes Pepper Pike unique and a great place to live is this. The fact that so many people are engaged, that we're all here, and we're all trying to do the right thing. And so that is good. You know, there's been a lot of feedback. And the common themes that I continue to hear kind of range from confusion to alarm. The council, you know, was very circumspect in obtaining residents' feedback regarding sidewalks. I mean, that was a 4-year process, I think. There were 3 surveys. It went to vote. Certainly this kind of rates the same level of introspection, feedback. As a community leader sitting in your seat, I'd want the majority of residents to be informed, to feel positive, to understand what this is all about. Issue 17, the way it's stated, is an all or nothing prospect. So if you vote yes, you are voting for it in its entirety, no changes, no amendments, and 6 years is a really long time to wait. I think we've seen what happens in 6 months if it's not working out. So if you don't understand exactly all of the nuances, if you're confused by what this might mean for the city, then you should vote no. Now listen, if you went in and you're buying a car, you're buying a house, and someone handed you a contract full of stuff, red line, 30 pages of red line, by the way, I don't know if you'd buy it, right? Like, that's pretty overwhelming, over-engineered, whatever you want to say. So just like you wouldn't sign that contract, you may not want to vote yes. And this is kind of my message. Look, a no vote is a no-lose proposition, and here's why. Fortunately, there's no burning platform. There's no malfeasance. There is no mandate coming from the residents. There's nothing that kind of puts a time constriction on this process. A no vote simply communicates that we need to bring along the majority of residents. Any good transformation or change happens through an effective change management process, which makes this room, all of you, say, yeah, exactly, I understand what's happening here. I can follow it. It makes sense. It reflects our values. The changes here are complex. They're numerous. Perhaps there's a simpler, more elegant solution that we could find. We have the luxury of time. We want to get this right. We want full community support and understanding. I believe Pepper Pike is the gold standard that the other surrounding communities are trying to emulate. What works for us in this community is making decisions that bring us closer together. This is too important to rush. Vote no.
around a little bit for myself. This way I kind of can address everybody together up here. First off, my name is Manny Naft. I've only been a resident for 39 years, so I apologize to the other people that significantly outrank me here. I'm not running for office, not planning to run for office, so this isn't a political speech in regards to a campaign speech on here. As a concerned citizen, I attended 16 of the 17 charter review meetings. Since the Beachbrook property issue came up in 2019, I've attended just about every council meeting, either in person or by video. In a minute, I'll go through, there is a problem, okay, and I'll explain that to you, what the problem is, and why, if you just continue to let it go, there are consequences on it. And Tony, I meant to ask, would you let me know each minute on here? So, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Where are we at? That's 1 minute. That's one? Thank you. Okay. I'm done. Any questions? No. With that, keep it simple in regards to, there was a question, or there was a statement made about, why did we do this? And wasn't planning to talk about this at all. Why legally did we do this? We have a city law director. He attended he attended most, he didn't attend every meeting, he attended most of the meetings. While this was going down in regards to deciding on whether or not we were going to do this, have a charter review, there was a lot of opposition to having the charter review. And with that, any reason to not do it, he put in, okay? And with that, it did go ahead forward. Never was the issue about any state item. It's not this people's issue on here, whether or not this was the legal advice that was given to the city.
2 minutes.
Thank you. What we chose were, we went out to the community and we asked the community, would you, thank you, Sandy, would you volunteer to be on this committee? Would you volunteer to be on the Charter Review Commission? And with that, 32 people applied for it. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because people were saying at the beginning, no one knew about this. No one knew about this. 32 people applied. 2 had to drop out right away, and then it went down to 30. So there's a list of 30 people that applied to be on the commission. And with that, this is a tally sheet published by the city of Pepper Pike. This is a tally sheet of all the votes for the 9 people that got on there. 6 out of the 9 people were selected by the mayor's office. Okay.
1 minute.
Okay. 1 minute left?
1 minute left.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
6 of the 9 members that are on the commission were picked by the mayor to be on the commission. 5 or higher rating was given by the mayor's office to be on the commission. This commission voted 100% unanimous to adopt what is being presented to us on here. The item is, this is an issue 17 because they had 17 meetings. You folks are here for 1 meeting. They came to 17 meetings. They listened to all the inputs that were given by different council people, by the citizens, by myself, by others that came to the meetings and got up and made a statement for that. I put in a list of the items that were broken on there. And with that, because people said that, okay, there's nothing that's broken on here, the item of the splash pads.
1 minute left.
1 minute left, thank you. How many years has it been since the splash pads started? Okay, it's been like 3 years. Okay, you're saying there's no problem. The thing is, we just keep having false starts that are costing us a lot of money. You look at the city hall, okay? How many years have we talked about the fact that, okay, that it needs to be updated on here? We've got people that can't use the building. They can't get into the building, okay? And with that, that's been going on for years. The appointments to committees, the Gates Mills Boulevard, multi-purpose trail, okay? The first time the council ever heard of it was at a city council meeting in February, right after a budget meeting, okay, that there's grant possibility for $500,000. Let's go ahead and do this. And council said...
Time, Manny.
Okay. Sorry, if I can get more later on, I'll be glad to give you the rest of the information. But there are things that are broken. Vote yes. Thank you.
Does this go here?
It's supposed to.
Yeah.
That's it.
You have to really kind of wiggle it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll do my best. My name is Noelle Tsevdos. I am a resident at 30900 Park Lane Drive. I am a lifelong resident of Pepper Pike, except for the years that I was in Columbus. I preface my comments by explaining I am a public sector attorney who practiced in state and county and local government for 30+ years. So I have looked at this process and the Charter Review Commission's report and recommendations, proposed language, through a different lens. And bear with me. I did reference and look at the National Civic League's standards for how a Charter Review Commission should be organized, started, and how the process should work. Unfortunately, I was disappointed when I read the meeting minutes. I did actually go through all the meeting minutes for the 17 meetings, and I was very disappointed by how the process transpired. And I'm going to keep this short and sweet. First and foremost, as everybody has said, or many people have said, there was no justification for the Charter Review Commission. I understand the need. Nobody understands the need better than I do, having been a public sector lawyer, of updating statutes, ordinances, charters. However, in this situation, after working in Columbus for 15 years and working up in Cuyahoga County, we don't have scandal, we don't have fiscal mismanagement, we don't have public corruption, we don't have ethical lapses. We have not had any of the problems that typically prompt a complete wholesale change in the organization of Pepper Pike City government. Secondly, the process was rushed. The standard referenced by Councilman Newell and by, I believe, Bruce Rinker at the last town hall meeting is that a process like this should take 2 years, up to 2 years. And when I read the minutes, meeting minutes, it was obvious to me that certain council members had an agenda, they were inflexible. There were Charter Review Commission members who spoke up frequently during these meetings saying, you know, I think this is rushed, I think we don't have enough time, I don't think we're gonna get to where we need to be in time. And the council members who were present at these meetings were insistent that they were inflexible, they would not change the time frame, and it was, we're gonna be getting this on the ballot in the spring regardless, so let's get the job done. So it was a rushed process. Third, it was not independent and impartial. I have nothing but respect for the Charter Review Commission members. I have no qualms with them. However, I do have criticism of council members who were present at these meetings under the guise of being liaisons, and they were anything but liaisons, okay? They interjected themselves into the recommended revisions to the charter. They actually wrote language, and you know who you are. You wrote language to give to the Charter Review Commission members. Well, that's not independent, that's not impartial. That tells me as a lawyer that there was an agenda at play, that they wanted the end result that they got, which is putting this revised charter on the ballot for the May election. Fourth, there was inadequate public input. I'm not going to repeat what everybody else has said here, but it was obvious to me when I read the meeting minutes, excuse me, that you didn't want input from the public. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. You didn't want input from the public. You said, and I believe it's at page 11 of the meeting minutes, it was clear that you were going to take this charter, the Charter Review Commission's revised charter and put it on the ballot May regardless. You weren't going to have town meetings. You said that. You actually said that in these meetings, that you were not going to have public input and public town hall meetings as part of this process because you just wanted to get it on the ballot. And my last point to wrap this up is I keep hearing about the law director was there, the law director approved this, the law director wrote this. Well, I know as a public sector attorney, the law director, Steve Byron, did not write this. He might have, he had input in that he was advising you against some of these changes. He advised you against doing what you're doing and switching from the mayor model to the city council because of the impact that it has. This model does not work. So I just wanted to be clear on the record. Steve Byron did not recommend this. Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me? No? Okay. Okay. Right into it. Right into it. Okay. It was good to hear from Tony Gentile that this is not, as he sees it, a matter of council versus the mayor. Oh, so sorry.
That's okay.
Ginger Van Wagenen and I live on Windy Hill Drive, the longest dead-end street in America. As I was saying, I was glad to hear Tony Gentile say that from his perspective, this is not a matter of council versus the mayor. However, I have to say that the paperwork from the commission belies that. The idea of a council review I first heard of last spring at a candidates forum. And the purpose, it was said then, was to look at, as the executive summary says in point number 1, to look at revisions required to update language that is antiquated, archaic, not in accordance with law, no longer relevant, and largely non-substantive revisions. That makes a lot of sense. But when you turn the page and you look at the next two items, one is we needed to do this to establish guardrails to protect the city. From whom? From what? I think somebody, I don't know who, sees a problem that doesn't exist. Number 3 says there are shortfalls in communication between the executive and the legislative branches. That sure sounds like council versus the mayor to me. So I would like to think that this isn't the power grab that the revised charter looks like, but I can't reach that conclusion based on what you guys wrote to the citizens. Thank you.
Hey, good evening. My name is Colonel Robert Rice, United States Marine Corps retired. I live at 2445 Edgewood Trace. I moved to Pepper Pike in June of 24 after 42 years on the road, including time as a city manager in Syracuse, Utah, and commanding officer at Marine Corps Base Hawaii, a military community of 23,000 people. Now fully retired, I'm eager to serve at the local level in my community. One key issue I want to address today is the 2-year residency requirement for council members and 4-year requirement for mayor. The state only mandates 1 year, yet Pepper Pike's charter goes far beyond this. I believe it's wrong to impose such a long waiting period on capable residents who are willing to dedicate time and effort to get to know the community. I've been attending city council meetings and interacting with neighbors since I moved here. I'm gaining a strong understanding of the city's issues And I believe the citizens should be allowed to decide if someone, even after 16 months, is qualified to serve on the council. The idea that you need 2 years to learn the city is overly restrictive and it prevents qualified residents from running for office. In my case, I've led an organization of 2,100 people, managed a $250 million budget, and developed a deep understanding of governance and public policy. I am more than capable of contributing to the leadership of Pepper Pike. The 2-year requirement is particularly problematic for veterans and others like me who are new to the community, but bring valuable experience and fresh perspectives. I've moved every few years throughout my career, quickly learning how to assess new communities and lead them effectively. Just because someone is new to a city doesn't mean they lack the skills, knowledge, or passion to serve. In fact, a fresh set of eyes can bring the best solutions. I've shared my resume with the council and had productive conversations with some members who agree that the residency requirement could or should be reduced to the state's 1-year minimum. However, the council has not adequately debated this issue or taken action. This lack of debate is a missed opportunity for transparency and input from the community. The council should let the voters decide for themselves if a candidate has been in the city long enough qualified for office. And I've made this statement at council meetings a number of times and to the Charter Commission on 2 occasions, but to no avail. I jokingly told the council, well, since I have to wait for 2 or 4 years to run for office, does that mean I don't have to pay my property taxes for 2 or 4 years? So if you've ever worked or lived in DC and seen the license plate, taxation without representation, I will not be able to represent myself. The rush process and lack of proper debate only serve to create unnecessary barriers to qualified candidates. Waiting until November, when voter turnout will be much higher, would have allowed more time for discussion and ensured the public had a chance to weigh in on these important issues. Our legislators did not legislate. That is the biggest issue with this referendum. There are too many large changes that didn't get properly debated, and my hats are off to the 2 council members who wanted to press further and wait to November and actually debate the issues. Voting no does not kill the process. It sends it back to the council to do it right, actually figure out what is broken. Leadership and Management 101 says, number 1, don't fix what isn't broken, and number 2, reinforce success. This charter change misses on both. It tries to fix things that aren't broken and does not reinforce success. In conclusion, I encourage my fellow citizens to vote no on this issue. It is not properly debated and resolved before May. It's time for council to show that they trust the people of Pepper Pike to make decisions about who is qualified to lead our community. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Zach Burkons, 3420 Lawton Lane. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. And first off, I want to thank the committee that did put this together. They put a lot of time and effort into it. And for the colonel, wherever he went here, you got my vote. So I hope you do run at the next time. I'll be happy to sign that December 5. I decided to take you guys seriously. What a mistake. I read everything that you guys recommended I read. I watched the video again of what was going on. Your job is to be responsive to the citizenry. I even went to the extent of writing a direct letter to Ms. Weltman, not only to apologize for how harsh I was, but to say I'd like some of your ideas and maybe you should run for it. Did I even get a reply? No. The 2 or 3 times that I've had to email the mayor about something, I get a reply that day telling me either we're going to work on it, or we'll get back to you right away, or solves it. Your job is to solve any problems, and right now there really aren't any. So this entire thing is a half-baked dance towards foolishness. Look at Cleveland Heights. They went to this strong council thing, nothing happens there. Nothing progresses there. I know the council people, I do a lot of work over there. They can't get anything done because the mayor and the council are just at loggerheads. Things are working here. Don't screw them up. Stay in your lane. Thank you. I'll be happy to sign that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Stephanie Jarrett, and I live at 2875 Chatham Road. I was a member of the council, or the Charter Review Commission. I'm not going to try to debate the big policies or anything, but there have really been a lot of misstatements and misunderstandings about what some of the recommendations say. So I just would hope that you really do try to understand what they really do say. And a lot of the debate seems and misunderstanding seems to be about the removal provisions. And so I just thought I'd go through those and make sure we're all very clear as to what they really do. As you've heard, as part of our review process, we study charters of surrounding communities. Chagrin Falls, Orange Village, Gates Mills, Hunting Valley, Moreland Hills. And when we went through those, it was readily apparent that our charter really does lack a lot of provisions that other more modern charters have, including provisions that allow for the removal of elected officials in very, very serious situations. And because we felt that those provisions offered important protections for a city, we recommended they should be added to the charter. We felt we would not have been doing our job if we had not pointed out to council and recommended these provisions be included. Under these removal provisions, 3 council members can join together to bring charges against an elected official, either the mayor or any council member, specifying grounds for removal. Now, these grounds for removals are very specific. They're identical to what are in many other city charters. We did not change them. They include gross misconduct, malfeasance, nonfeasance, misfeasance, conviction of certain crimes, and being adjudicated incompetent. Very, very serious things. And Mr. Riemer, the law director, did advise us on this point. We specifically asked him, do we need to provide any further definition on those grounds for removal? And he said no. Those are defined terms under Ohio law, under Ohio case law, and under the Ohio Revised Code. So council cannot, under these terms, remove its fellow members or the mayor under these grounds for removal on a whim or at their discretion, or as someone said, or because that official missed 2 council meetings due to a vacation. That's just not accurate. These are defined terms under Ohio law, and they're very serious things. In the unlikely event that the charges are made against an official after filing or following what is a defined due process procedure that would be in the charter, the official could be removed from office only if 5 council members voted for removal in the case of a fellow council member, or 6 of the 7 in the case of the mayor, which is a higher standard than any of the other charters that we looked at. Most of them were 5 or 7 for that as well. I've seen it said, well, only 3 council members. It only takes 3 council members to bring these charges. Well, there's a reason for that. Under the Ohio Sunshine Laws, a majority of our 7 council members can't collaborate on anything outside of a public meeting. So that's why it's 3, and that's why it is in every charter where the city has 7 council members. That's the most you can have to be able to put anything on to bring charges. So that's why we did 3. If I could have made it 5, I would have, but we can't. That's the only way to make it work. So should we include these removal provisions in our charter just because everybody else does? Of course not. But should we include them because it's a best practice for the protection of a city that many other cities have chosen to include and that have worked really well as parts of their charters for many, many years? I think that makes sense. And also, we included a recommendation with respect to removing the law director and the finance director, and a lot has been said about that. So 4 minutes? Okay, well, I just want to clarify that several of the neighboring charters we examined provided their law or finance director could be removed in the same way they were appointed, and that's by the mayor with the approval of the majority of council. We thought that would be a valuable protection for the city and for those employees. Should the city ever have a mayor who happened to be a bad actor? And we're not talking about Mayor Bain. We're not talking about any of these individuals. We're talking about something that could happen. It's a guardrail in the future. We're not seeing ghosts talking about guardrails. These are things that just make sense, like impeachment in the federal and state government. Should the city ever have a mayor who's a bad actor and is inclined to try to remove a law director or finance director because they won't do what the mayor wants them to do? That's a protection. Let's see. Oh, the other point. There's been criticism that we didn't include the grounds for removal and the due process procedure with
Time.
respect. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Gerard Bartasavich, 29600 Shaker Boulevard. I'm a little, as I said, I feel like a broken record. I've attended council meetings for over 25 years. I've watched the council operate the last 3 or 4 years. I'm very disappointed in this council. As you say, someone writes letters, they don't respond. I've written letters, they don't respond. I did a survey, a straw survey for all the residents. I put it out there on social media. What would you like to see in Pepper Pike? The residents came back and they said, I like a community garden. I like a splash pad. I like more sidewalks. I put it in a report and I sent it to council. Not one council responded to the residents' request for items for City Hall, or for our city. I'm very disappointed in the inaction of our council. What I would like to see, and I'm very disappointed in the way they approached this commission, especially when one of the commission members came here today and came here last week, and they're speaking. We came to council to hear the commission. We came to council before they voted to hear a report from the commission. We said, where are they? They refused to attend to give their report. Can you imagine? And then council members said, one of the council members, they said, well, let's vote. One council member said, oh, I'm willing to vote today. Really? What about the residents sitting in the bleachers, basically? What about the residents viewing it online? No conversation. Why didn't the commission want to come to the public and speak and present your product? That's totally wrong. It's inappropriate. But what I'd like to see here is a little more transparency. Some people said, how did this start? How did we get here? Well, you know what they don't tell you? What you haven't seen? You haven't seen the letter from residents that were against sidewalks, that requested this charter review. I'm asking council today to share this letter with the residents. Put it online and let the residents see who signed this letter, where they came from. They were all residents that were against the sidewalks. That's where it started. Guess who got on the commission for the council? 3 council members that were adamant against walkability. They refused to take a sign. They refused to stand up and say, when asked, are you for the residents for sidewalks? They refused to even respond. So number one, I'm asking council, could you please make this public for the residents so they could see where this started? They asked for community involvement, and they said, oh, we want community involvement. We want community involvement. Residents sent letters. Mr. Gentile said there were about 12, maybe more, maybe less. In the report, in the meeting minutes, I don't see anywhere where these letters were even addressed. Nowhere. Even seeing in the commission, I think in the report we're saying, oh, shouldn't we address the residents' letter? It wasn't mentioned. So let's see those letters. Let's see the letters that the residents sent. I don't think anyone has a problem. You can even take out their names. But I think residents need to see these letters. Excuse me? 4 minutes. 1 minute left. The next thing I would like to see is what Mr. Bilski stated, and it's even written in the Commission report, Mr. Bielski noted here in Pepper Pike, 6 members of council identified in writing that the communication with the council and the office of the mayor is a problem at present. Let's see those letters. Those letters were even mentioned in the Chagrin Valley Times. It was reported on November 14, 2024. It was reported that Mr. Bielski has those letters. I asked the commission chairman for those letters. He doesn't have them. I sent the secretary a request to see those letters. He never responded. So let's see those letters. Let's be a little more transparent with the residents. And I am voting no for this. I think this is not right. It's rushed through. You didn't have town hall meetings, and again, I'm voting no. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shari Goldberg, 28449 North Woodland. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I first always want to give gratitude to everybody who's here and gratitude to everybody who's worked so hard, including the mayor, everybody up here, everybody who's passionate and committed to our city, because we're grateful that we get to live in such a special place. And I've worked hard to create a big project with my colleagues and friends, and I know how hard, and how passionate we can be about something and how meaningful it can be, and I understand. So my heart is with everybody who is working hard. But I was sitting there, and I'm not a lawyer like a lot of you, but I'm sitting there and I was listening to the person, and I'm sorry I don't remember your name, and I apologize, about charter reviews. And I was thinking, there's got to be something in place about removing a mayor. No offense, mayor, but I don't want to remove a mayor. And I'm thinking, there's got to be a system in place. I'm not a lawyer. I'm married to a lawyer. And there's all sorts of, if you Google how to remove a mayor, there's all sorts of ways to remove a mayor. I don't think we need a special charter for the removal of a mayor. You literally, there's section this, there's section that, there's all sorts of, within 24 hours, there's all sorts of forms to fill out, there's all sorts of ways to remove you, mayor. So I don't think we need that in our charter. There's forms, it just seems very easy. Yeah, there's petitions you fill out, there's forms to fill out if you've gone insane, if you've taken the money. There's all sorts of ways to remove a mayor. So I don't think we need, as far as this is showing me, and like I said, I'll go home and talk to Michael, but there's section 705.92, there's section 3.08, there's all sorts of things. So I'm not gonna take up time, but there seems to be a lot of things that we might not need specifically, like by May, to remove our mayor. Hopefully we don't have to, but I'm just saying, I just looked it up and Googled it, and I think we're okay for now. So thanks. So I say vote no, just because we need more time to look into this.
It's on YouTube,
I'm Rick Taft. I live at 4 Pepper Ridge Road. I moved to Pepper Pike in 1953.
Oh my God.
I was 8. And I have been here off and on ever since. In 1996, we built a house in, where's Susie? She's still here? There she is. And then we moved in, and it's been a joy to be here. Indeed, I'm sending this letter to the editor of the Cleveland Jewish News, and I use the word write in it because I'm going to write to the editor. And I write in defense of Pepper Pike City Council. Not the current one, but the one I served on beginning in 1998 with Cleve Svetlik, Cookie Morgenstern, Alan Krulak, and others. That council was amiable, earnest, unpolarized, and humble. When we made mistakes, we proceeded with humility to try to correct them. The Currid Council received from the hardworking Charter Review Commission in late December a draft charter that pleased council but displeased the mayor and displeased many other citizens. At January council meetings, I and many others asserted that the draft was deeply flawed. Few citizens spoke in support. Current council members Scott Newell and Jackie Godick urged placing the charter on the November ballot to give Pepper Pike a good opportunity in the interim to understand and improve this complex and controversial document. The rest of council said they wanted to honor the work of the commission, then did exactly the opposite. Council voted 5-2 to put the charter to an up or down vote on the May ballot. This disrespected the commission by denying our citizenry a readily available opportunity to improve the draft charter and enhance its chance of passage. Council seemed to feel it already knew all it needed to know to proceed to a rapid vote on a controversial charter. Do I feel this council has shown good judgment and humility in dealing with the proposed charter? No. What vote do I recommend when voting on this charter? No.
It might.
It hasn't yet. It's fine. It hasn't fallen yet. Ooh.
Everyone else?
What's up? This is when I drop the microphone. Yes. Okay. William Thompson, 30500 Providence. I think that's the only time I ever actually remembered to tell you my name before I started talking, so we're off to a good start. Pardon me. We're hearing a lot of undirected claims in various forums about misinformation. All right, fine. So let's talk about the substance of 9 specific arguments from 17's proponents. Some of them are quick, don't worry. Number 1, the commission worked hard on this. If the ballot asks, did the commission work hard? You've got my yes vote. But can we focus on the merits of the proposition? 2, community input. Despite needing 3 citywide surveys about sidewalks, how many did council send to gauge your appetite for changing the charter? The answer is 0. How many of you have ever read the charter? Ugh. Did anyone ever make 1 ounce of effort to educate you first before asking for your input on changing it? I don't remember having that. What were most of us doing while the commission met 13 times in the middle of the work week? Working? That's right. This explains why they got 12 responses, and a few residents attended meetings. Thank you, Manny, for going to so many. The input was heavily biased towards people already wanting a specific outcome. That's not a meaningful chance for input. Mr. Gentili recently denigrated these legitimate concerns as, quote, complaints, if you read his recent letter to Chagrin Valley Times. Number 3, general updates. No one is disputing the need for gender neutrality, changing village to city, and so on. Council rejected the law director's advice to make these obvious changes on an independent ballot measure. They wanted a clearly wanted an all or nothing ballot. Which brings me to number 4. The law director signed off on this.
I sincerely hope they're not implying the law director endorses this proposition with that statement, especially after ignoring his advice. Number 5, residency requirements. Sorry, Mr. Rice, Colonel Rice. I personally trust the voters of Pepper Pike to decide for ourselves if someone's been here long enough. I don't need that legislator from me, thank you. And from what I can tell, council needs some fresh voices. Number 6, president of council. They repeatedly cite how many other cities do it, but to be blunt, it's irrelevant. The National Civic League clearly states that each city should write the charter best for it. Pepper Pike is doing incredibly well under the current charter, and I have yet to see a single shred of data that tells us a new charter would be better. In fact, University Heights adopted the strong council model 3 years ago. Guess what? Chaos. Number 7, clarifying the mayor's executive powers. This is a good one. This is grossly misleading because while the mayor would continue to run the city departments, they omit how often council, the legislative branch, can simply override the mayor on key executive functions while making the mayor need their approval for them. So as long as we're clarifying, what this really means is the mayor becomes wholly subordinate to council. No, thank you. Number 8.
4 minutes.
Thank you. Removal provisions. Regardless of how they dress it up, council can unilaterally indict, bring and evaluate evidence, and act as jury to remove someone you elected. This is dangerous for any iteration of council to have that kind of leverage, to even have the threat of removal. You don't have to do it to make someone comply. And number 9, I'm done. They claim the mayor has too much power because they're the chair, but guess what the new charter does? Gives council the chair, make appointments, and approve them too. It seems a little odd to suggest that when the mayor can do it, it's too much power, but when council can do it, that's okay. Vote no. Are we done? Should we sing?
Excuse me. Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
I would like to point out that when I called the National League of Cities, they told me that the description of what was being proposed by the Charter Commission was the strong mayor, not the strong council form of government.
Sure doesn't seem that way reading it. Which I actually read the charter.
Well,
as you asked me to do.
Well, I'm telling you what the National League of Cities spoke.
I think what Tony is saying is factually accurate. You can look at the document, and it's accurate. And whether you want to characterize it differently, the facts.
I don't want to characterize it anything. I actually read it and shows what it can do.
The facts are the facts.
I'm responding, if that's okay.
This isn't a debate.
Well, you're responding to me. I reserve the right to rebut.
Your 5 minutes are over. There might be other people.
I'm looking around. I had an offer to sing on the table, but no one seems to be taking it. Karaoke?
I respect I'm sorry, Ron Barber, 33,000 Shaker Boulevard. I respect some of your comments, but unfortunately, most of them are incorrect. So that's a problem. Most people here came to learn about the charter. And when people come up and basically stretch the truth or have false information, the council people would like to respond so people actually have proper information. But when they respond, people decided that they should be heard instead of council replying to false information being given constantly, which is a real disservice for this type of town hall, We have 7 wonderful council people, very strong council people, who've all been voted for. Thanks for interrupting me. I know you didn't vote for some of them, but they've all been voted for. And you should show them some respect, as well as the mayor. However, the mayor, unfortunately, who's running this town hall, when people were constantly interrupting everybody when they were talking, sat there and did nothing. That's a disgrace. I'd like to give the rest of my time to council, if you would like it, to respond to a lot of the falsehoods and basically false statements that have been made. It's not the purpose. If people are lying and telling mistruths, they should correct those things so the people of Pepper Pike know what they're voting for, instead of the false information. I'm still talking. This is what I'm talking about.
What are the lies? You're calling us lies? You're telling
A lot of them are lies, yeah. I'm going to let counsel. I tell you what, did I speak when you were up here? No.
Gentlemen, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to give time to council to refute 90% of what's been said tonight.
You're anyone else?
You're not allowed to advocate. You're not allowed to advocate.
Just tell them the truth. It's just basically responding to basically things that were said that aren't true.
Hi, I'm Jeanne Gascoigne, 30496 West Landerwood. And I would just like to wrap it up by saying I went to the other town hall and I've been to this one tonight. And as far as the misinformation, the disinformation, the lies, y'all can go up afterwards and get that information. But as a citizen who has attended this meeting, and you sort of took, I was going to say some of these things, but I only have some adjectives. The personal attacks, the innuendos, disrespect, sarcasm. I'm so disappointed and I'm really ticked off about it. And the interruptions, and I'm disappointed in my fellow citizens. So I'm done, thank you.
We wrapped up? Not seeing anyone else? Thank you for being here this evening.